Welcome to the April 27th, 2022 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook Live, and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. Today's DCSS Cryptocurrency 101 will feature Mr. Jamil Sheikh and Derek Jones. I'm really excited to have these two gentlemen on today. Derek, Jamil, how's it going?
Hey, Kenneth. I'm doing really well. Very, very excited to be here. Very excited to be with the audience, and hopefully we'll have some interesting conversations.
Derek, excited to have you as well, my friend.
Excited to be here, Kenneth. Great to see you also, Jamil. Really excited to be able to answer some of the questions that hopefully some of the viewers have, and also provide some information that they can use.
That's exceptional. We have a great audience. The Digital Career Success Series audience chimes in from all over the place. So we're excited to have them. These two gentlemen, I'm really excited just to see them here today. I made the extension of an invitation because I had the pleasure of working with both who were speakers for TEDx Harlem. We did a metaverse themed event and both showed up in support of TEDx Harlem and delivered great TEDx talks. They are available on YouTube, so you can check them out there later on. But listen, I just wanted to chime in and say thank you to Matthew King as well for kind of giving me names of people that were leaders in the space. So we got two experts here today. I'll just jump in and allow them to basically introduce themselves. So a quick intro. Derek, it's on you, my friend.
So my name is Derek Jones. I'm the CEO and founder of United Coin Incorporated. We're a cryptocurrency exchange and a blockchain operating system that works with centralized and decentralized technologies. I also have some work that I do philanthropically with at-risk youth, where we teach them life skills. And I'm just really happy to be here and excited to be able to work with you all.
Hey, Derek, if you don't mind real quick, man, like 15 to 30 seconds. You know, we did, I guess it was maybe 2 DCSSs ago, we did something about legacy, right? And we had 2 young ladies, they were dynamic, and they spoke about their family legacies. Real quick, man, if you don't mind chiming in, just tell us a little bit about your father.
Absolutely. So my father is former Senator Darrell L. Jones. He's the only individual in the history of the United States to get reparations for African Americans. And he was in the legislature here in Florida for 12 years. Through him and through a lot of the work that he's done, he's also worked with banks here in Florida as well, building Great Florida Bank, which happens to be the bank that's gotten to $1 billion in assets the fastest. The record when they started was 5 years, and they did it in 18 months. And through the work that they did, and as they say, fathers try and build floors for their sons. And so what we've done is we've built up from that floor, and we've built United Coin, and we've hoped to help as many individuals in the communities that look like us and others as well.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. I think it's a great story. All right, Jamil, hey, when they say he wrote the book on it, that's our next guest. It's Jamil. Jamil, please introduce yourself to the Digital Career Success Series family, sir.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamil. I'm based in New York City. I do several different things. I've been involved in the blockchain space. I actually started mining in 2012 and then got into blockchain more in 2016, 2017. I run 2 companies and a couple of different organizations. One's called Instament, which is a NFT, B2B NFT API platform for enterprise. And then I run a company called Chainhouse, which does advisory and development work specifically in blockchain and machine learning. I'm an author. I've written a book called Mastering Core. I'm writing another book for Columbia Press on decentralized finance, and a chapter in a book on NFTs for Cambridge Press. Both of them should be out later the year. I'm a professor too. I'm an adjunct at Columbia Business School. I just got appointed to Zhejiang International Business School in China, and also teach at CUNY, so all blockchain, AI, machine learning topics. I run what's called a CBDC think tank, or CBDC is basically central bank digital currency think tank. We engage with lots of different central banks. Actually had an event this morning. And I'm on the board of a few organizations and nonprofits, including something called Society of Women Coders, where we go to very, very difficult places in the world and get or more people engaged in technology, especially females, and help them empower their way to find a way to be independent, financially independent, and make money. So we go to places like Haiti, we go to places like Afghanistan, and kind of help out there. I run a very large blockchain community. It's the largest. It's called Blockchain NYC. I started it in 2017. It was me and 3 people in a room staring at each other, talking about cryptos, and now we're past 30,000. In New York City, we do a lot of events, and we're doing bigger events. Hopefully we'll do an event pretty soon in the Barclays Center, and get some really marquee people in.
Man, I really, that's so impressive. I don't know when you sleep, but I'm just glad you made it here today to do the Digital Career Success Series, man. We told them in a post that we have the experts. We just proved that right there. Thank you so very much. Let's jump into it. Next slide. Yes, what is cryptocurrency, NFT, blockchain, DeFi? Let's just jump in. I think cryptocurrency, what, are we going with Derek on this one?
Absolutely. So what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency, when I started back in 2013, all we had was Bitcoin, right? And so what these are actual digital assets that are native to a specific blockchain. And so with Bitcoin, that's native to the Bitcoin blockchain. You have Ether, which is native to the Ethereum blockchain, and so on and so forth for a number of cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies themselves actually can be seen as digital assets. And what they do is they allow individuals to be able to interact with what's called a blockchain. And Jamil will extend on a little bit more what a blockchain is later on. But these cryptocurrencies, as you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum, have been used for kind of removing oneself from the normal banking system and allowing individuals to be able to have individual banking systems that they can work with and have peer-to-peer transactions. And so cryptocurrencies are really still very new to the world. They've only been around for since 2009. So we're going on just past the first decade. And Bitcoin being the first cryptocurrency, there are many that are now out, and there are many more to come. And just to add a little bit of a difference between cryptocurrencies and what they will consider to also be called altcoins or tokens. An altcoin or a token is a token that is created on an actual blockchain and is somewhat different from a cryptocurrency, but you'll hear societally and also in the media, well, they'll join them together by calling them all cryptocurrencies. And so the only difference is that a real cryptocurrency is native to the blockchain, and a token or an altcoin is actually made on another blockchain.
All right, excellent. You know what? Because you mentioned some of the blockchain terminology, I think let's just jump NFT, go into blockchain. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same thing, Kenneth, that we go into blockchain first because it's foundational. And can I interact with the audience? Is that all right?
Definitely.
Okay, so I want to explain blockchain, and I do this quite a bit, and I get a lot of definitions. I typically ask people, "What's blockchain?" They go, "Oh, it's a ledger, immutable, blah 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 blah," and they're kind of wrong, right? So I want to talk about what blockchain is, but first we're going to do a very, very simple exercise. Imagine I have a PDF or a JPEG or some digital content on my computer. Let's call that digital content a digital asset, right? And Kenneth, and this is a question to the audience. Please drop your answer in the chat box. If I send that to you, email or DM it to you, that JPEG, whatever, and I send it to you, do I still have a copy of it? Let me just see what the answers are in the chat box. Natalie says yes. Frank says yes. Jamel says yes. Okay, okay. So I still have a copy of it. Kenneth, I send you something, I DM you something on Instagram. You have a copy, I have a copy. Therefore, if that is true, therefore, that digital thing can never have any value. The value of that digital thing is zero. Does that make sense? Because if you have a copy of it, so can 1,000 other people, and there could never ever be any value that digital thing could possibly ever have. Okay. Now, if I create a digital thing inside the blockchain software, forget about what the blockchain software is, how it works, and all that kind of stuff. If I create that digital thing inside the blockchain software, much like how you create a PDF inside of Adobe Acrobat, you don't really care how it creates it. You just know that it produces a PDF, it's using that software. Same thing with blockchain. If there's a digital asset that's created in the blockchain software or using the blockchain platform, and I send you that digital asset, I no longer have it. Okay. Now the fact that I no longer have it means a lot of different things, but one, that that thing could possibly have value, gain value, accumulate value, right? Whether it creates value or has value or not is a different question, what that value is. We're not saying it must have value. It now allows the possibility of that digital thing or digital asset to have value because we've created scarcity. If I don't have it, you have it, it means that that thing can now potentially have value, right? The thing where I can send you something and I still hold on to it, that's called a double spend problem. That's why digital money is a difficult problem, because if I can just keep recreating that digital thing on my computer, then I could theoretically be infinitely wealthy, right? And then you could be infinitely wealthy, and that's a mathematical impossibility. You can't have two people that are infinitely wealthy because one of them has to be wealthier than the other, right? So the digital spend, and we could get into the philosophical side of it, but the digital spend problem is if I send you a digital thing and I have a digital thing and I still have it, we have a double spend problem. But if I send it to you and I no longer have it, we've solved the digital spend problem. So blockchain, number one, solves the digital spend problem. If I send you a digital thing, I no longer have it. Number two, we can solve the digital spend problem today, but with an intermediary. If I send you money via Venmo or M-Pesa or PayPal, that little intermediary company tracks what you sent and says, well, look, you just sent Kenneth $100, therefore you no longer have that $100. It is telling you that you cannot spend again what you just spent, right? Because it's, well, they have it, somebody else has it. So we can solve the double spend problem with an intermediary. And what blockchain allows you to do is to solve the double spend problem without an intermediary, right? That's the magic. That's the only thing that blockchain solves. Everything else is a lot of details, important details, but they can get you, you can get caught up in the details. It solves this age-old problem that we've had since computers have started of double spend. And I can solve double spend in a peer-to-peer manner. If I send a digital thing to Kenneth, nobody else has to say that I no longer have it and Kenneth has it. The blockchain, the software testifies to that. The rest is semantics and details.
Got you. And is that why the energy has to be like that? It's always running and verifying?
Yeah, so it's software that's always on, like the internet. Right. We could say, right. Is the internet ever off? Nope. Right. It's not like, hey, did somebody turn the internet on today? No, it's always on. It's the same thing. The blockchain, by and large, is mostly always on. Bitcoin has always been on. Ethereum has always been on.
Gotcha. All right. So let's, because you were speaking about, images and things of that nature, I guess this is a great time to kind of just stay with you into NFTs.
Hello?
Yeah. So an NFT, so much like the example I gave earlier, if I create a digital thing on a blockchain and I send it to you, I no longer have it, and I solve the double spend problem, and I can do it without an intermediary, some middleman, I can do it without it. I can also create my own custom digital things on a blockchain, specifically Ethereum and all these other newer blockchains. And I can create a placeholder, which we call a token. It's a digital placeholder. It's just a pointer. It's like a file. And that thing can point to other things outside of the blockchain. It could point to art, digital art that's sitting somewhere else. It could point to a car. Say, hey, I'm pointing to this license plate number and this registration number of a car. It could point to a house. It could point to a rental lease. It can point to whatever you want. And that digital thing itself has a unique identifier. That unique identifier is what makes it non-fungible. So we say, well, Jamil, what's fun? What do you mean by non-fungible? Fungible. Well, so we have to explain what fungible is. Fungible is the idea that a thing is intrinsically mergeable and combinable and divisible, right? So I can take water and I can take a gallon of water and combine it with another gallon of water. That's fungible. But I can't take two houses and combine them into one, right? That's just what do I do? It's like blow them up and like bring the bricks together. Him still, right? That's not something typically people do. They are not intrinsically mergeable or divisible, right? And that's fungibility when they're intrinsically mergeable and divisible. Oil is fungible. Digital money is fungible. I can take $5 in digital money and split it into 17 different ways if I wanted to, right? Physical money may not be that fungible because I can't take a $5 bill, rip it in half and say, here's 250, right? So fungibility is an important property of things on the blockchain, and non-fungible is basically things that you can't merge together. You can aggregate them together. I can take 10 non-fungible tokens and aggregate them into a portfolio, but aggregating them is not the same thing as them being intrinsically mergeable and divisible, right? And so non-fungible tokens is just technology that it's a unique thing. It's a unique asset. It points to a unique thing outside the blockchain. It could be a digital art. It could be whatever you want it to be. And I can't take a piece of digital art and smash it with another piece of digital art. I can't, right? It's two independent things. And therefore, I call those things non-fungible tokens.
Got it. Wow, it was just at the surface where I can still understand it. So I appreciate it. Hey Derek, let's go into DeFi.
Absolutely. So decentralized finance is very interesting. What it is it's similar to centralized finance, except without an intermediary.
Hey Derek, we're losing you. So I'm going to have Jamil chime in. Jamil, can you pick that up?
So Jamil touched on this earlier in regards to blockchain technology, where blockchains.
All right, Jamil, looks like Derek went out. I might have to have you do the heavy lifting here on this one, sir.
Sure, no problem.
Again?
Sure. So DeFi is the idea. So now I have these tokens that exist on blockchain, right? And so let's say Kenneth has token A, B, and C, and these tokens have value. Token A is worth $5, token B is worth $10, token C is worth $100. And I have token D, E, and F, right? And they have value each, right? For whatever reason, for whatever these tokens do, they all have their own reasons for existence. Somebody's created them. They might be an NFT, they might be whatever. I look at Kenneth's tokens and I say, you know what? One of his tokens is going to appreciate in price faster than one of the tokens that I have. And so therefore I might be interested in exchanging tokens with him, right? And he may have the opposite view that one of the tokens that I have will appreciate faster than one of the tokens he has. So what we might want to do is he will take his token and park it into software that exists on the blockchain. And I would take my token and park that into software that exists on a blockchain. And that software, what it does is a swap. So we exchange tokens, right? And I get back the token that I wanted that he used to have in his portfolio, and he gets the token that I had in my portfolio. And we believe now we've made a trade that is in our best financial interest, right? That software that allows us to do the swap is an example of decentralized finance. It's the ability to do financial functions. Those financial functions are carried out and executed by software that sits on the blockchain, software that you can see what the rules are and how it works. That's how DeFi works. But what is DeFi, right? It is something very, very profound. The way I'm writing a book on DeFi. The way I define it, and there's nobody else is defining it this way. It's a bunch of words. I mean, it's Darwinian, meaning that it's a rat race, and gamified, meaning it's uses game theory. But the most powerful, important thing is that it's crowdsourced financial engineering, right? That means anybody, me or you, can sit down, whether we know coding or we can hire a developer for a couple of days. We can create our own financial product and put it on the blockchain. And if the public likes it, they will put money into it, right? And that has never happened in human civilization before. The ability for anybody, whether you have a PhD in finance or not, and in most cases, it's better if you don't, right? Because the history has shown all these people have created all these kinds of new financial products that run and execute on a blockchain that are really reinventing how finance is done. So there is a definition of finance where we take the traditional financial markets, bonds, equities, and try to put it on the blockchain, not really working out so well. What's emerging is new ways of doing new things in finance, right? And so there's new things that you can do. But the most powerful thing is that anybody can go in and start to create that stuff. A couple of years ago, if I wanted to create a financial product, I go to Wall Street and spend a year creating the product, 2 years to create that product, go through compliance, go through risk management, go through a whole set of things. And then maybe it becomes a product that a bank will support and tries to sell and trade. With DeFi, it's crowdsourced, meaning it comes from the public, right? It's like open source or open source. It's the same thing with source code, but this is with the actual financial product, how it works, how it behaves, its economics, right? That financial product I can create by coding it and deploying it. A good example is something called Uniswap. Young person, probably 27 years old, was a mechanical engineer, had nothing to do with blockchain, had nothing to do with coding, was working for a German company called Siemens, decided to play with blockchain, ended up with this piece of software called the DeFi piece of software that he deployed. And today, over $500 billion have traded through that 300 lines of code, right?
So I have a question, so what made that attractive to people?
So what made it attractive was it was a more efficient market. It was a more transparent market, faster settlement. It gave me ways to, like in the example that I gave you, I've got tokens. If you got tokens, you might want to get rid of some and swap to others because you believe that the other tokens are going to appreciate faster. So when you go do a trade, when you go buy stocks, you're doing a swap. Like this dollars that I'm holding, it's not going to appreciate. We know now it's going to depreciate, but it's not going to appreciate as faster as that other stock that I'm going to buy. So you do a swap, you give up your dollars and you take equity, right? And you're doing a swap, right? And so what Uniswap does is exactly that with the full universe of tokens. So you have token A, B, and C. Well, you want to take B out and you want my token E, I have D, and E, and F. You want token E, you give me one of your tokens and I give you the other, right? But the way that Uniswap does it, I don't even have to interact with you. It's bifurcates the two. Somebody's just depositing stuff in, kind of like when you deposit money at a bank, and the bank generates this pool of capital and then it loans it out, right? You don't know who's borrowing your money when you deposit money at a bank. You don't know, like, well, that money is going to somebody else to buy a house here and there. It's separated. The bank is in the middle of that. It's fungible as far as the bank is concerned. Hey, we've just brought in $100 million worth of savings deposits from 100 million different people, right? And then takes that $100 million and then goes out and deploys it to mortgages. You don't know that bank deposits is known as a liquidity pool, right? It's the same thing Uniswap does. It does something similar to that. It lets people put in liquidity and then it allows you to trade in and out of that. And that works for a lot of people, right? So it gets more involved and more complex, and we can spend an hour and have a whole full presentation on how Uniswap works. The point is that I can conduct financial transactions that are driven by financial motivations with tokens that I have or tokens that I want. And Uniswap is an example of DeFi that reinvents how these things work. The traditional world, when you go and buy equities in the market right now, is this something called unlimited order book. You have a counterparty. There's a market maker. So somebody says, well, I'll sell you IBM for $100. Somebody says, well, I'll sell you IBM for 105. You're going to go to the first person. So, well, I'll take the IBM for 100 because that's the best price. There's somebody willing to sell you at different prices. and somebody's willing to buy from you at different prices, right? And that kind of structure doesn't work on a blockchain. We tried that. That's known as a classical decentralized exchange. We can get into that in more detail. The point is that how business and finance works on a blockchain is changing massively daily. That's why I call it Darwinian. Nothing to do with Darwin's theory of evolution. It's Darwinian in the sense that it is survival of the fittest. Today, you can create some software and billions of dollars will move into it. Traders will move billions of dollars into it. And I can copy that software. Somebody else can copy that software because it's open source and modify it a little bit, make it better and upload it. And all of a sudden those billions in the first piece of software then shift and move into the second one. So there's this constant push to produce the best software. And anybody can come along and produce it. You can do it in 2 days, you can do it in 6 months. But now the people have the power to create their own financial products. And if it's a good product, money will come into it.
I love it. It's the Digital Career Success Series. We're talking cryptocurrency 101, Jamil Sheikh, Derek Jones. Hey, listen, I know there's been some questions. If you can drop them in the Q&A instead of the chat, it would be greatly appreciated, and we will get to them, or most of them, during the Q&A. But to answer your one question, this will be available on the Urban League Jobs Network YouTube channel as well. Let's go to the next slide. All right. Derek, you are on just in time, my friend, because if I remember correctly, we were going to have you speak about security. So important information about security, please. Derek Jones.
So when it comes to security, you want to know a couple of things, especially when it comes to blockchain, whether you're holding your own cryptocurrency or whether you're using a custodian or working with an exchange. One of the first things, and probably one of the most important, is something called cold storage. Cold storage is where you hold your own cryptocurrency outside of an intermediary, meaning maybe another digital wallet or an exchange or a cryptocurrency exchange. And so when you have cold storage, it's important to note that you have something called a seed phrase, right? And you also have your private key. This private key and this seed phrase are extremely important. If you ever lose this information, you are going to be in a situation where you maybe were one of these individuals who lost their hardware wallet or lost their password, and they know they have millions of Bitcoin and they don't know how to access it. And so when you're hearing this, what they've actually lost is their private key and their seed phrase for their actual wallets or for their cold storage. And so it's important to make sure that you hold on to this information and that you guard it. Okay, you have individuals that actually take this information and put it in safes, fireproof safes, so that they can never lose it and so that they know that they always have it. And this is one of the important aspects of blockchain technology when you go into holding your own money, right? With banks, you have FDIC insurance. With cold storage, there is no insurance. You are the insurance. You're holding on to your own assets. Now, when you're working with different cryptocurrency exchanges, for example, United Coin has a cryptocurrency exchange. With our exchange, your assets while on the platform are fully secured and insured. And so what this means is that we work with the third party and they work with us to ensure your actual funds. So while your cryptocurrency is in the wallets on our exchange and some other exchanges as well, you actually have your assets insured. And then at the same time, you have the instances where these exchanges are actually holding your assets in cold storage as well. And so what they're doing is they're doing a two-pronged approach to making sure that your assets are extremely secure and insured. And so that's one of the first steps that you want to use. Now, one of the other steps when it comes to security has to do with communication. All right. You don't want to necessarily communicate anything associated with your cryptocurrency through email, right? There's a lot of phishing that goes on out there. And this is with a PH, not with an F, right? And this is where individuals will send you emails and send you information through text message and also through maybe some messaging platforms requesting to know part of your seed phrase or part of your private key. And this is information you don't want to ever share with anyone. Okay. And so this goes back to making sure you do not communicate that information to anyone, being through an email, a messaging system, or even through text. You want to hold that in your own platforms, hold that in your own safes, and make sure that you have that for yourself, or work with a third party, such as exchange or a digital wallet that is secured and insured to make sure that your assets are secured and insured.
So Derek, let's talk about this because there was a question about Coinbase. Now, is
Mm.
Coinbase, is that considered a digital wallet, first of all? And then they were asking if it's a viable option. So can you speak on what Coinbase is, but then also its placement in the industry?
Absolutely. So Coinbase is one of the premier companies in the cryptocurrency space. What they have are a couple of services. Now, one of their services is a digital wallet. Their digital wallet allows you to be able to hold different digital assets, tokens, cryptocurrencies within that wallet. Now, they also have other services such as a cryptocurrency exchange, and they're also coming out with an NFT marketplace. Now, they are a viable option, but one should note that when you're using Coinbase, that there are certain terms and conditions that you have to abide by when using that platform. Now, this is similar to when you're using a banking application or when using any other application, but you just want to make sure that you know these things when you're going in, right? And so with Coinbase, they've never really had any huge issues, if you will, but you'd want to make sure that even with those platforms, if you use a digital wallet or if you're using them to secure and insure your assets, that you make sure that you look into their security and their insurance. Right there on their platform, they're going to let you know what they're able to do.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for kind of just adding some clarification to that. Now, did we speak about payments specifically?
We haven't talked about payments yet, but let's talk about payments. Right now with cryptocurrency, in order to make a payment, there's many ways that you can do that. One is using a mobile application, and that allows you to be able to send and receive your assets to someone else. This can be via a Coinbase application. This could be via an application such as Bread Wallet is another one that was one of the originals. And then you also have other applications that are browser based, such as MetaMask, which is very familiar to most people who are originally getting into the space and dealing with things such as NFTs. MetaMask is used by a lot of exchanges and many decentralized protocols to allow individuals to be able to interact with them. Now, when it comes to payments, that security is also important. When you make a payment, you're usually either going to use an intermediary, which would be, again, a digital wallet or an exchange. And so you don't necessarily have to use your private key or your seed phrase in order to execute that transaction. Now, if you're going to execute that transaction outside of a third party, meaning outside of an exchange or outside of a digital wallet, then you'll need your private key to be able to tell the blockchain that it's you that is executing that transaction. It's almost kind of like having a PIN code with your debit card. It allows you to be able to, the bank to know that it's you that's using the card. And so when you go to make a transaction, they'll ask you for your private key and you'll have to enter that information. And this is, of course, when you're not using a third party. There's other forms of payments as well. With United Coin, we've developed the ability for people to be able to send and receive cryptocurrency with a text message, and also using WhatsApp and Google Voice. And so there's many intricate ways to make payments, and there's now also easy ways to make payments using blockchain technology. And you'll see that there are many companies that are coming out that are trying to radically simplify the process of blockchain technology, payments, and security so that more people can use the technology without having to have as much education.
Great. All right. So listen, this time I'm just looking at the clock here. It's going by really fast. We're going to go to the next slide, but we're going to bring Jamil back in as well, because we want to talk a little bit about careers in the space, right? You know, we're hearing, this is the Urban League Jobs Network, so it is what it says it is, right? We're always talking about jobs and careers. So as a business owner and as an entrepreneur in the space, as you kind of look at where the future exists, and Jamil, you have businesses, you're working across the board, university space, internationally. Where do you guys see some of the career paths in this industry? Like, is it going to be like standard finance, or do you find it will trend a little differently?
Yeah, so the number of jobs in the space are growing very, very fast. There is more demand than there is supply. And there is more money in this space than I've seen in any other space per person, right? A lot of these blockchain companies are sitting on billions of dollars, and they're looking to deploy and hire people, and they can't find the right people. Now, if you are in the space, you'd already know that. If you aren't in the space, your question is, how do I get into the space, right? And that's a natural question. And so a couple of different strategies, and we could talk about those in terms of how to get into the space. But nobody's going to pull you in, right? You've got to go to these organizations, demonstrate value, do that internship, take that lower paid job, and take maybe a hit on your title, and then get into the space, right? The space is going to continue to grow, and it's growing very, very rapidly. Even though the crypto market is down year over year, the growth rate in terms of demand and jobs continues to trajectory upwards, right? That trajectory, that trend line is not wavering, and this is probably a ground floor opportunity for people to get involved. We're in these past 2 years are an interesting set of years, because prior to that, the major skill set that was in demand was for developers. And if you're a developer, this is great. This is good news for you. But what's occurred over the past few years is demand for all kinds of skill sets, right? So legal, marketing, PR, project managers, across the board. Everything is now needed in this space, right? You just don't need to be a coder and kind of a technical person, right? CIOs are needed, CTOs are needed, CMOs are needed, COOs are needed. I'm looking for a co-founder for something we call Instamint, right? And we're leaning towards getting a female to come in and join. So if you're interested in that, please send me your resume or add me on LinkedIn. There's just not enough people, right? But there's a lot of money, right? And the money, and it's great, like Wall Street has a lot of money. The difference here is that this money is, people already throw it at you, right? It's like, for us to raise capital, it's like, it's never been easier. It's just, I sent a Telegram message to a couple of people and we get $50,000, right? Just like that, right? So it's a very, very different market. It's not going to last. It's not going to stay forever, maybe for another 4 years, 5 years, where it's this kind of frothy kind of thing. But this is the opportunity for you to seize, jump in, if this is something that really you're passionate about. You don't need to understand the details. You don't need to be technical. You don't need to be a know-it-all. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm still learning. I'm teaching this stuff only because I can learn, right? It's not because I'm an expert. People say, you're an expert. Like, stop. That's not the case. There are no experts. Anybody that claims to be an expert is going to fool you, right? There are no experts here. I refuse to associate that word with my name. We're all learning because it's rapidly changing. This is the frontier of human civilization, and in terms of what we as a society, as a civilization, can produce, because everybody's involved in this globally. Banks, small companies, big companies, non-banks, they're all engaged and involved in this, because this changes how we live. And in 10 years, how we live will be different, much like how 20 years ago, people were scared to use credit cards online. There was actually a time people were like, well, you can't use a credit card online. That's just, you're going to get scammed. You're going to get ripped off. And lo and behold, all I buy is everything off of Amazon. I don't even I just go to the supermarket. I don't get anything else from anywhere else, right? So how we do business in 10 years, this blockchain technology is going to change all of that. And if you're looking for a career path, or if you already have a career, you're already working for a bank and you're looking for a way out of that, the opportunities are enormous. Go to conferences, get plugged in with a community, and opportunities will open up. Seize on it, get your resume cleaned up. Your email address should not be, joe1287576@hotmail.com. Get a nice, clean email address, get it out there, and you're going to get into the space.
Hey, Jamil, I have a question for you, and Derek, you can chime in as well. So what I've been seeing, and this is just coming from the lens of a diversity recruiter, a lot of underrepresented groups and a lot of diverse populations have kind of leaned towards this sector saying that they felt locked out of traditional financial institutions and the typical finance Wall Street world. Are you seeing that to be true? And if so, why do you believe that to be the case?
It's
So if
absolute. Yeah,
oh,
go ahead, Derek.
oh, thanks. And Jamil's probably going to say the exact same thing. It's absolutely true that people are coming into this space, and it's because they have been locked out of traditional finance. It's not that they felt they were locked out; they actually were locked out. Traditional finance uses attributes, and I speak to this a little bit in the TEDx talk, such as your nationality, your ethnicity, where you live, in order to determine your credit worthiness, right? I mean, they've actually found that during the pandemic, there were banks that did not give home equity lines of credits to their to their customers who were Black and who were brown, and they actually denied them, even though they were able to make the payments. So it's not that they feel as though they were locked out; they were locked out. And so what happens with blockchain technology is that that dynamic of your ethnicity, your nationality, where you were born, your age, so on and so forth, is no longer an issue. It's no longer even a line item in blockchain technology. So what I like to say is that blockchain technology has no eyes. This is almost like justice. Justice is blind. We're trying to do this based on math and code so that there is no quote unquote trust needed, right? The trust is in the math and the code. And so by doing this, we're allowing people who have been, as you mentioned, blocked out and locked out for years from traditional finance, you're giving them pathways, and they already have this energy, this this excitement, and this need for the finance. Now the pathway has been open, and like the floodgates, you're going to see a lot of people moving towards blockchain technology.
Great. Would you like to chime in, Jamil? Hey, they're already calling for a part 2 of this discussion.
Yeah,
So
we'll do it. Yeah, I would also say, and so I completely agree with Derek. It's not a perception; it's a reality. People like that look like you, Kenneth, and you, Derek, and me. There is intrinsic inherent bias, systemic bias. The data shows it. I don't need the data. I feel it every day, right? And it exists in the blockchain world, right? There are things that I have to go above and beyond. This is why I do a lot, not because I want to. It's because I have to make sure nobody can put me down, right? Nobody can say, well, you're less, because you were already automatically less. When we're all at the same starting line, but I'm already less, right? So we have to I have to compensate. That's what I'm doing, right? And so if you go to any crypto news site and you look at the faces there, majority of the faces are a specific demographic, right? So, and that's because of multiple reasons. Is because the old money, the old bank money, which is still the most money, is that specific demographic, and that old money is going into the new world, right? And they're making sure their sons and daughters are positioned well, right, in this new crypto world. And so we see that, right? This is why I'm not going to bring in a co-founder of, it doesn't matter how qualified they are. It could be the CEO of Coinbase. I'm not going to bring them in, right? I want to bring in these underrepresented into something that I'm working on that's really, really, I believe is going to be potentially really powerful in the coming years. It's a systemic problem that continues to exist in the crypto world. People are not really recognizing it, but it exists, right? There is an inherent mistrust for people that are not of a majority. There's mistrust. I think that that person doesn't know enough, doesn't know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. You have to double and triple the amount of work that you do in order to be on par, right? And that's unnecessary, but it has to be fought. I'm fighting it in my own way, right? But it exists. If you are, of a certain demographic, you're going to face more challenges. But there are people out there working on to level it out, but not very vocal about it. I'm not very vocal about it. I'm just getting the job done, right? Whatever has to get done, I'm getting the job done. So it exists. It exists in the new space, and it's more reason for you to jump in. I would say that this is an opportunity, one of the best opportunities to rewrite history, right? To rewrite and reorganize how the future looks like. because it's very difficult to go and change the old world, the old money. You can't restructure that stuff. It's so entrenched, it's so systemic, it's a massive battle. This is like saying we're starting over. Here's a blank piece of paper. Some groups have already started writing on that paper, and I'm telling everybody else, hey, we all got to get our pens and start writing on that piece of paper. The opportunities now.
I love it. Listen, Instament, Chain House, Yanonic Coin, check them out. Are there other organizations, Derek, if you were someone looking to start a career in this particular industry, are there organizations that you would look at outside of course, Yanonic Coin? I think you're on mute.
Yes, absolutely. There's Afrotech, which is a great organization. They're helping a lot of people in technology get into this space. You also want to look at some of the organizations such as Block Spaces. They're doing some great work also. And then you also want to look on Meetup. Look on Meetup and look at the people around you and the communities around you that are doing cryptocurrency work. You'll be amazed. You'll just show up at one of these events. You might see someone you know. You might not see anyone you know, but you'll see that a lot of these individuals are very inviting, right? They want to bring more people in. They want to see you there. And so just go out there and just be a part of the actual community, just as Jamil mentioned before. You can also do it virtually as well if you need to do that. But just start is really what I would say to everybody. And then there's one organization that I like to speak about that I started with, the University of Nicosia. That's NICOSIA. They have a massive open online course, or MOOC, that was one of the first educational tools that I used to get into blockchain and cryptocurrency. And it's taught by some of the great, some of the early individuals in blockchain technology. I will admit the individuals that are teaching don't necessarily look like us, but they are expert. They are considered to be experts, you know, some of the original individuals to work in blockchain. And they also give you a certificate associated with the course, which is awesome. And allows you to really understand not just what blockchain technology is, but the originations of money, and then also how blockchain technology is working with that.
I appreciate the resource. Thank you for the share. We're going to jump into the Q&A because we got a ton of them here. Listen, I'm going to start here. Manuel, he wants to know, what are the benefits of NFT artwork that I don't take personal possession of? Why would it appreciate in value?
So many reasons. So when you actually buy a book, you buy a physical book, you don't own the copyright of that book, right? The publisher or the author owns it. So how can a book appreciate in value? And there are books that are worth more than the original sale price, right? Some of these classics. So the thing to understand about NFTs in the art world, you can have NFT that represents a rental lease. That's a different thing. Let's talk about the art NFTs in the art context. In the context of art, NFTs are not about the art. They're about two things. Actually, one thing we can break down into a couple of things. Provenance, right? Provenance is the idea of community. If you break down provenance, I unpack provenance. It's community. It's the creator. It's the story behind it. Okay. Why would I own a photo of or artwork of an ape, right? What does that mean? It means I'm a member of a community. There is a lineage of that artwork tying back to the creator of the artwork, and there's a story about that artwork and the community, tying it all together, right? So that creates an idea of membership, in some cases exclusive membership, and that's what creates value. So you have an NFT that has tied to artwork, their story, who the artist is, what the community does with the art, how they love it, how they cherish the art, the people, and that drives value up. And NFTs are just a mechanism to participate in that.
Got you. Thank you so very much. Got another question from Yvette. Why is crypto so volatile?
I guess I could touch on that. The reason cryptocurrency is volatile is because it's still a new market. A lot of people don't know that there's only 10% of less than 10% of the people in the world actually own cryptocurrency. So when you're making transactions with cryptocurrency, you're not necessarily trading with a bank or with a large stock exchange, as you may do when you're using the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. You're actually trading with another individual, right? You're trading with someone who's sitting at their computer in their living room, maybe in another country. And so when that happens, there can be many differences in the value placed upon that digital asset or that cryptocurrency. And so because of that, you'll see a lot of changes. Another aspect of this is that because cryptocurrency doesn't have the same regulations as other stocks and other securities, you'll see, well, there'll be large fluctuations based just upon news, right? People get involved with what's going on in media, and what happens is that people may change their decisions as to how they feel about an asset. And in the cryptocurrency world, again, since there's not that many people, that can make a large fluctuation in price. And then last, there's day-to-day issues, right? You'll notice in cryptocurrency that there'll be a large price fluctuation around Christmas and around the last quarter of the year. And why is that? Because a lot of people sell their assets to buy presents for their kids, right? And to buy presents for their loved ones. So this is something that is affected by many different variations, and it's because these are people that are involved, right? And people have different things that happen to them every day. And so because of those nuances and changes in their own individual lives, they're reflected within the cryptocurrency market.
Gotcha. I'm going to try to keep these real quick. Is there a regulatory body or BBB type of organization to help customers avoid fraudulent crypto, crypto instruments or crypto schemes? How can someone vet crypto related companies?
That's a great question. There are a couple of ways that you can do this, but I would say not to necessarily quote unquote rely on anything. Cryptocurrency is a risk, okay? So you want to know that. And investing in anything is a risk. And so you want to understand those risks before you're involved. I will tell you, there are some platforms out there that are trying their best to help with this. You can Google a couple of different platforms that are out there. Jamil may know some more, but I'll note here with United Coin. Anyone who creates a coin on our platform, we know their name. We know who they are, and we know that they're a good actor, if you will, within the market. This isn't the same with all other exchanges, but that's one of the ways that we've tried to kind of help people vet, if you will, by knowing that there's an actual person and that person has been vetted and has passed the parameters necessary to be involved. Jamil, you might want to touch on this as well.
You know what? I'm going to actually have Jamil chime in on something different so we can go to the next question. What is the best path for someone who wants to get educated in this space, Jamil?
We do a lot of free classes. I dropped my LinkedIn in the chat box. Add me on LinkedIn. You'll see the post for free stuff. If you're in New York City and you have $200, I do a full day blockchain masterclass. If you don't have the $200, hit me up. I'll get you in for free. I don't really care about the money. Take classes, join a community. I run the largest blockchain community in New York City. Get plugged into the community. The beautiful thing about a community, and this kind of answers the previous question in some ways as well, is that if it's the right community and they're focused on education and the truth, that community will protect you from fraud, right? Because you can vet information through that community. The community is like a liver, right? It purifies information, right? If bad information goes in, it spits out the bad stuff and it allows the good stuff to permeate throughout that community. So don't go solo. Don't be like, oh, this guy is selling me something. I'm going to go in. Go to the community, talk to the community, and see where it gets you. And the community should be based on education. Get into the events. Avoid the bigger conferences where there's a lot of selling and a lot of noise. You get excited, but you don't learn much. You learn tangential and superficial information like Bitcoin's this and Bitcoin's great and all that. You want to learn the core stuff, so you should take classes, right? The university that Derek was mentioning, that's a great starting place. There's courses on Udemy. Take the ones that are best rated, right? There's a lot of these meetups and they're delivering, people coming and delivering classes. If you're a developer or you're a coder, take classes on how to understand and code on blockchain, because then you'll understand how the blockchain works, and then you can avoid fraud. And also, if somebody's selling you something and it's online and they want money, it's a fraud.
Man, from the moment I met you, man, the transparency in your communication style is so appreciated, man. I love the way you explain things, and I think it comes across extremely genuine and well. Thank you so very much, Derek. This is going to be the last question, but what would be a minimal investment to get started in your mind?
I mean, you can start off with as little as $10, right? That would probably be the best way to go. I would start out maybe with some Bitcoin, just see how the experience is so that you can get started, and then maybe take another $10 about a month later and try some Ethereum. Then $10 about a month later and try some more. You really just want to kind of dip your toes to get started. Allow yourself to be able to understand what's going on with cryptocurrency and what's going on with the market. Allow yourself to kind of feel what's happening there and kind of see what's happening. And then once you understand what's happening in the market and you're able to kind of get a feel for what's going on around you, then you can start putting in more. But I would always tell everyone, as I mentioned before, take your time, understand it's a risk, but at the same time, educate yourself. And once you're in and you have that education and you've gotten past that risk adverseness, then you can start getting to the next levels.
I appreciate it. Listen, I know you guys have a ton of questions. We tried to get to as many as possible, but there's so much content, so much information, great guests in Jamil Sheikh and Derek Jones. If you want to connect or just follow the work they're doing, here's the contact information here. Both are very credible. Both are very caring and giving. And I'm just appreciative, gentlemen, of your support of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. And clearly, there's a lot of questions, so maybe there is a part two.
I'm going to try to talk to the powers that be, right? I need to talk to my team at the National Urban League. So on behalf of Wanda Jackson, Dory Brown, the entire UL Jobs Network team, they want to do a part two, y'all. We really probably need to have a conversation about that. And on behalf of the audience, our Digital Career Success Series, you guys were great today. You had a ton of excellent questions. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back to do it again May 11th. This is really going to be exceptional. It's time to redefine professional. And we got a team from LinkedIn checking in to answer all of your questions about how you kind of brand through on that particular platform. So I'm literally going to take a back seat and sit and kind of listen and watch this myself. So thank you so very much for joining us today. On behalf of the National Urban League, the UL Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, I'd like to thank Mr. Derek Jones, Mr. Jamil Sheikh. Listen, lock in with them, connect with them, watch their TED Talks on the YouTube channel. They're both amazing. I really appreciate both of you gentlemen, so thank you so very much. Dory, thank you for making this special today. I really appreciate you, Kanji, Adanya, Dave, the whole team over there. We'll see you on May 11th. Thank you.